In the heart of the bustling city of Lagos, Obinna paced his marble-floored office, frustration boiling inside him. He was a man drowning in wealth but starving for peace. Deals, contracts, board meetings, they wrapped around him like chains. He yearned for something real, something untouched by greed. That evening, without telling anyone, he packed a simple bag, swapped his designer suits for plain clothes, and drove himself far from the glittering city lights. His car rumbled along dusty roads, past mango trees and rice paddies, until he found a quiet village nestled at the foot of green hills. The village was simple. Goats roamed freely, and children chased each other barefoot. As Obinna stepped out of his car, the air smelled of rain-soaked earth and roasted maize. For the first time in years, he smiled genuinely. Here, no one knew his name. Here, he could be just a man. Amara woke before the rooster crowed, her body already aching from yesterday's work. With her rough hands, she tied her wrapper firmly and stepped outside into the misty dawn. Her small farm stretched beyond her mud house, with neat rows of cassava, yams, and maize. Her father had passed the land down to her, and she treasured it more than gold. She bent low, weeding and tending to the crops, singing softly to herself. Life was hard, but her heart was light. Children from nearby huts waved as they passed, and Amara offered them fresh groundnuts with a broad smile. By noon, the sun bore down fiercely. She wiped her forehead, glancing towards the dusty road where a stranger stood. His clothes were plain, but his shoes, she noticed, were too clean for a village man. Still, she gave him a friendly nod before returning to her work. Little did she know, her life was about to change forever. Obinna wandered the village, inhaling the peace he had long forgotten. Curious eyes followed him. Strangers were rare here, but he greeted everyone with warm humility. At the edge of the village, he saw a woman working fiercely under the blazing sun. She was different, strong, unpretentious. Her laughter rang across the fields like a song. Drawn by something he couldn't explain, Obinna approached. "Good afternoon, madam," he said awkwardly in the village dialect he barely remembered. Amara looked up, her eyes cautious but kind. "Good afternoon, stranger," she replied with a teasing smile. He offered to help her lift a sack of yams, and though she laughed at his clumsy hands, she allowed it. Together they worked under the sun, laughing like old friends. Neither knew it yet, but the soil beneath their feet was sowing the first seeds of something rare and powerful. By the time the sun dipped behind the baobab trees, Amara had finished her work, and the stranger was still lingering. She found it odd, but his manners were polite and his eyes sincere. "Come," she said, brushing dust from her wrapper. "You can eat before you continue your wandering." Obinna's stomach grumbled in agreement. Amara led him to her small, neat home, its walls coated in red earth. Inside, she ladled steaming ogbono soup over pounded yam, placing the dish before him. Obinna hesitated, then dug in with his fingers, mimicking the village way. Each bite tasted like warmth and kindness. As they ate, Amara told him stories of the village, the harvest festivals, the stubborn goats, the rains that came too late. Obinna laughed, genuinely, feeling lighter than he had in years. Amara didn't ask his background. She didn't need to. In her world, a good heart was better than a rich name. The village is a place where news flies faster than hawks. By morning, tongues wagged about the stranger staying with Amara. Mama and Keiichi, the oldest and wisest woman in the village, sat outside her hut chewing bitter cola and listening. "A clean, shoed stranger eating in Amara's house," she murmured, her eyes twinkling. Children ran to her with more gossip, how the man spoke with respect, how he helped Amara carry firewood, how he smiled shyly like a boy. Mama and Keiichi only chuckled. "There is a river flowing," she said to no one in particular, "and it does not flow without rain." Meanwhile, Obinna, unaware of the growing curiosity, spent the day learning to plant cassava with Amara. He stumbled, sweated, and laughed. Amara teased him mercilessly but always with a kind grin. Slowly, the soil that dirtied his hands also cleansed the loneliness from his heart. That evening, dark clouds swallowed the sky. Thunder growled like a hungry beast. Amara hurried to secure her chickens, and Obinna, without needing to be asked, helped her gather the animals. As the rain pounded the roof like angry drums, they sat close together inside the hut, lit only by a smoky lantern. The fire crackled, filling the room with warmth. Amara pulled a threadbare blanket over both their shoulders. For a long moment, neither spoke. Outside, the wind howled through the banana trees, but inside, there was peace. Obinna looked at her, her hair damp against her forehead, her cheeks glowing in the firelight, and felt something stir deep within him. He wasn't thinking about stock prices or luxury cars anymore. Here, with muddy feet and rumbling skies, he found something purer than all the treasures he owned. In the hush between thunderclaps, a bond silently rooted itself between them. The next morning after the storm, the village awoke to puddles reflecting the bright African sun. Amara decided it was market day, and without much thought invited Obinna to come along. They walked together, their feet splashing through shallow pools while villagers stared and whispered. The market buzzed with energy. The scent of roasted corn, colorful fabrics hanging from makeshift stalls, laughter and bargaining in the air. Amara moved like a queen among her people, greeting traders with firm handshakes and haggling for better prices with playful wit. Obinna watched her with wonder. She needed no riches to command respect. Her dignity was priceless. He helped her carry baskets filled with yams, peppers, and groundnuts. Some vendors teased, calling him Amara's new farm boy, and Amara simply laughed. For the first time in years, Obinna didn't mind being teased. In fact, he found he rather liked it. Later that evening, as they sorted through their market purchases, Obinna presented Amara with a small gift, a simple hand-carved wooden necklace he had bought secretly at a stall. Amara held it up, the carving rough but beautiful, shaped like a tiny yam, symbol of prosperity. She laughed, touched beyond words. "You city people are strange," she teased, but her fingers lingered on the necklace longer than necessary. Obinna, embarrassed but grinning, helped her fasten it around her neck. His hands brushed her skin, and for a heartbeat, the world stilled. Their eyes met, a long, searching gaze that said more than 1,000 words. Amara looked away first, cheeks glowing. "Thank you," she whispered. Obinna smiled softly. It wasn't gold or diamonds, but it was the most precious thing he had ever given. A piece of himself. That night, under a sky freckled with stars, Mama and Kichi called Amara aside. The old woman's voice was low and serious. "Child," she said, "the river does not carry treasures for free. Who is this man who plants yams but has the hands of a prince?" Amara's heart thudded painfully. She tried to brush it off. "He is kind. He helps. What else matters?" Mama and Kichi's wise eyes narrowed. "Kindness is good, but truth is better. Beware of men who hide their names in their smiles." Amara swallowed hard. She trusted Obinna, didn't she? Still, that night as she lay awake, the doubts Mama and Kichi sowed took root. She stared at the necklace glowing faintly on her chest, feeling the confusing ache of something both beautiful and frightening. The first stirrings of love mixed with fear. Days turned into weeks, and Obinna became a familiar sight in the village, helping Amara on the farm, playing draft games with elders, even patching broken fences. Yet each night, as he lay on a straw mat beneath the thatched roof, guilt gnawed at his heart. He wasn't just a wandering farmhand. He was Obinna Nwokedi, the billionaire whose face graced business magazines. His empire stretched across Africa, yet here he was, pretending to be a simple traveler. How could he tell Amara? Would she look at him differently? Would she think he was playing with her heart? One evening, he sat by the river, tossing pebbles into the water, the orange sunset painting sorrow on his face. He knew he couldn't hide forever. Love built on lies was as weak as a house made of dry grass. But fear held him silent. Fear of losing the one thing he truly wanted. Her. Fate, as always, found a way. One afternoon, while fetching firewood with Amara, a grand, shiny SUV rumbled into the village, a rare sight that drew everyone's attention. From the vehicle stepped a sharply dressed man in sunglasses, looking around impatiently. He called out, "Obinna Nwokedi!" The villagers gasped. Amara dropped her bundle of sticks. The stranger continued, "Sir, your mother is worried sick. You've disappeared without a word. The board is waiting for you in Abuja." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some villagers stepped back. Others stared at Obinna as if seeing him for the first time. Amara's face froze. Her heart sank. Betrayal tasted bitter in her mouth. Obinna stumbled over words, reaching for her, but she took a step back, pain flashing in her eyes. Without a word, she turned and walked away, leaving him standing among whispers, the firewood forgotten on the ground. Night fell heavy over the village. Amara sat alone outside her hut, her knees hugged to her chest. The necklace Obinna had given her felt like a heavy stone against her skin. How could she have been so blind? All the small signs, the clean shoes, the soft hands, the way he never talked much about his past, now made cruel sense. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. In her world, tears were a luxury. She had trusted him. She had started dreaming foolish dreams. A simple farmer and a stranger whose smile had promised the world. But it was all a lie. Somewhere across the village, Obinna stood by the road, staring at the stars, wondering if he had lost everything before he even had the courage to truly hold it. The sweet seeds they had planted were withering under the cold winds of truth. By morning, the village square buzzed like an angry hive. Some elders muttered that Obinna was a liar, a wolf in farmer's clothing. Others defended him, saying he had done no harm, only brought laughter and honest help. Mama Nkechi called a gathering beneath the ancient Iroko tree. Obinna stood before the villagers, head bowed, humbled. He confessed everything: his wealth, his loneliness, his desperate need to find something real beyond marble walls and business empires. His voice cracked as he spoke of Amara, of how she had shown him what no fortune ever could, a taste of true happiness. Some villagers softened, others remained wary. But one face among them was missing: Amara's. She had not come. Obinna's heart grew heavy. Without her forgiveness, the acceptance of the village meant little. He could own 100 skyscrapers, yet he would still feel like a beggar in his own soul. Amara stayed hidden in her hut, staring blankly at the smoky cooking fire. Chuka, her mischievous younger brother, sat beside her, unusually quiet. "Sister," he said finally, "if a yam falls in the dirt, do we throw it away without checking if it is still good?" Amara gave no answer, her heart too heavy. She was torn between pride and love, anger and longing. She remembered the way Obinna had stumbled over planting cassava, the way he laughed like a man who had never truly been free before. Was all of it a lie? Or was there truth buried beneath the deception? She clenched the necklace tightly in her fist. It wasn't gold, yet it was given with a pure heart. Maybe, just maybe, not everything was false. Still, wounds do not heal overnight. She needed time. She needed space. And so, with tears she refused to let fall, Amara remained silent. The sun hung low when Obinna realized she would not come. He packed his small bag slowly, the village children watching with sad eyes. Mama Nkechi approached him, her face a mask of wisdom and regret. "Sometimes," she said gently, "the fruit is not ripe just because we are hungry for it." Obinna bowed respectfully, his heart breaking inside. As he climbed into his dusty old car, not the gleaming SUV that waited nearby, he cast one last look at the hills, the farms, the simple beauty he had found and lost. The engine coughed to life. He drove away slowly, his rearview mirror filled with red dust and vanishing huts. Amara stood hidden behind her doorway, unseen, clutching the necklace to her heart. She watched him leave without a word, her soul battling between fear and the stubborn hope that maybe love could find its way back, even through the deepest wounds. Weeks passed. The rains came and went, watering the thirsty earth. Crops grew, and so did Amara's heart, slowly, painfully, but steadily. She worked the fields alone, but there was an emptiness beside her rows of cassava where Obinna once clumsily dug. In the evenings, she found herself singing the songs she used to hum when they worked together. Chuka often caught her staring into the hills, lost in thought. Mama and Keiichi, wise as ever, watched but said nothing. Healing, she knew, needed its own time. One day, Amara sat by the river, the same river where Obinna once tossed stones and dreams. She opened her hand and stared at the wooden necklace, now smooth and polished from weeks of being held and wept upon. In her heart, anger had faded like morning mist. All that remained was a question. Was she willing to risk hurt again, for the chance to taste real joy? Far away, in a gleaming glass tower of Lagos, Obinna sat in his office, lost in memories of red soil, laughter, and a woman with strong hands and a stronger heart. His suits felt heavier than armor, his wealth emptier than a dried-up well. One morning, he made a decision. Without fanfare or bodyguards, he climbed into a modest car once again and drove back. Back to the village where his heart still lived. The road was long and dusty, but his spirit was light. When he arrived, the villagers gaped in surprise. Some smiled knowingly. Some merely shook their heads. Obinna asked only one question. "Where is Amara?" He found her by the river, just as he had dreamed 100 times. She was washing vegetables, the sun catching glints in her hair. She looked up, startled, then wary, then confused. And finally, something soft lit her face. Obinna knelt right there by the riverbank, the mud staining his fine trousers. He didn't care. He looked up at her with the eyes of a man who had nothing left to hide. "Amara," he said, his voice raw, "I didn't come to offer you wealth. I came to ask for a chance, to live a life that is real, with you." Amara stood still, heart pounding. The wind stirred the river, the trees, her soul. Slowly, she stepped forward, pulled the old necklace from under her wrapper, and held it out. "Only if you wear this," she said, smiling through tears. Obinna laughed, the kind of laugh that shook off years of loneliness. He slipped the necklace over his neck proudly, as though it were the crown of kings. And there, under the wide African sky, amidst the scent of rain and soil, two hearts planted seeds not of sorrow, but of hope. Their harvest would last a lifetime.